This is the Talk is Cheap podcast. We're recapping a few games from Week 7, and we're going to play a little GM today.
That's my favorite thing, man.
Yeah, I'm talking trade scenarios and some way too early draft predictions. I'm your host, Justin Hayes, and with me is Skylar, Jerry, Jones, Kurowetsky.
What's going on?
Hey, so speaking of trades, Browns trade Carlos Hyde for a 5th-round pick to Jacksonville.
Yeah, to Jacksonville, man. They seem pretty confident in Nick Chubb.
Man, they're trying to get him some carries, it looks like.
You got to when you draft a running back that high. You gotta get him
He's
the ball.
a high 2nd-round pick, man.
What was he, 33, 34, something like that?
Yeah,
He was right after their guard. And when you have Jim Brown announcing, all of Cleveland's going to go nuts.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of Cleveland fans buying into him. What's your take on him?
I'm not too big on him, man. I think for the past couple podcasts, I've been really hating on him, to be honest with you. I don't want to hate on him, but he's not showing me anything.
I'm trying to
positive.
keep an open mind. He's had that one breakout game that obviously was 3 carries
for
like
85 yards and a touchdown or 2 touchdowns.
I didn't even judge that game, but it shows that he can make some big plays. I wasn't big on him from college. A lot of wear and tear, injuries.
You got to tear your ACL to be part of Georgia's running backs. That's a fact.
It's a fact, man. So Cleveland, how did they do?
I think they did all right in this game. The score was 23-26. They lost to Tampa Bay in overtime. Another overtime game. That's 4 straight or 4?
4 total for this year at least.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield played an all right game. I think he actually put the team on his back this game.
It might have been his best game of the season.
Yeah, I think it honestly was one of the best games of his season. Statistically, it wasn't, but just watching him play, he ran the ball well. He put his team in positions to win, and the team just couldn't capitalize. I think it was bad offensive play calling.
Yeah, and 43 rushing yards as well. He had some big running plays. It's nice to see him do it in the NFL.
Yeah, since people said he couldn't.
Yeah, and the other benefit that I see with this game, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, man. Hey, I think that might be his first week throwing a touchdown and not throwing an interception.
That's good. I think it's his first start also doing that.
That was kind of the thing I was beating down on him with was from last week. He had more interceptions than touchdowns, man.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with him last game, but I think you could notice the height was an issue. We keep hammering on that, but this game they got him out of the pocket, which was like, I guess Todd Haley must listen to our podcast because we've been calling for that.
We've been saying that for a long time. He's too short to stand behind them big guys every down, Yeah,
let's not get too high though on Todd Haley. Like, this is kind of what I really wanted to talk about.
Let's wake up.
Like, Todd Haley, I think, benefited in Pittsburgh from having Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben. I think having the triple Bs really made him look better than he is, to be honest.
Well, yeah, when you lose this many games to close calls and this and that, and the fans say, you were cheated out of this and that, they have so many opportunities, man. If you watch this game and you go back and watch it, you can see where they left meat on the bone, man.
Yeah, I don't understand if you ran it on 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, and 3rd and goal and didn't get it. Let's run the exact same play on 4th and goal and try to score. I mean, theoretically, you have Nick Chubb, who I've called a bust, but the one thing he's good at is short yardage situations, and he couldn't capitalize. I think the offensive line's an issue. Todd Haley's an issue. Personally, I think Hugh Jackson's best suited for an offensive coordinator role. I think the Haslams have committed to Hugh Jackson, and I think they're going to let him ride the wave for another at least year, even if this is a bad year. But I think if he doesn't do it this year, you have to move him to offensive coordinator. I don't think it will happen. I'm just saying I think you have to.
Yeah, to lose this many close games, and the defensive play calling is a struggle too.
Yeah, I'm not real big on Greg Williams either. I mean,
it's they're playing too high way too often.
He's scared of getting beat deep, but what was the point in spending all that money in the offseason on corners and then drafting probably the best corner in the draft? What was the point in it if you're just going to play deep and be afraid to get beat?
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of big chunk plays coming out on the sidelines, and it's kind of the problem when you just keep your safeties back there and let your corners play up tight and they get past. There's a lot of open area there.
I think outside of Myles Garrett as well, that defensive line needs some work, needs some talent injection. We thought Emmanuel Ogbah would be, a solid defensive end, kind of like a Brandon Graham-esque to the Fletcher Cox. I know Fletcher Cox plays defensive tackle, but that whole Batman and Robin role.
Yeah.
But he's not playing up to par. and I don't think anybody else on that defensive line is playing well. Larry Obenjobi or whatever his name is, I think he's playing under par. He played really good last season. That's why they let Danny Shelton go, and I think that's really an issue.
You know, Myles Garrett 2 sacks and Emmanuel Ogbah 1.5. It's not a bad day for him. But I do see what you mean. A little bit more would make that defense something else.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think a little more pass rush and a little getting more home to the quarterback, not just pass rush, because if you watch a lot of their highlights, they're getting to the quarterback. They're just not touching the quarterback. They're not like they're pressuring him and making him step up in the pocket, but there's no inside pass rush. I think that's what they lose from not having Danny Shelton.
Yeah, and a decent game for Nick Chubb if we want to bring this circle back around. He had 18 carries for 80 yards.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent game, and he busted off a long 20-yard run. Or 21-yard run. He did all right. If you take it out, though, he only averaged 3.4 yards per carry. So that's kind of where I'm at with him right now. Is I don't see him as an every down back. I think you have Duke Johnson, and you're not utilizing him enough.
Yeah, I really like Duke Johnson as a playmaker, and you're right. One attempt for -4 yards. It really just, and how many receptions did he end up with?
He had 4 receptions. You're not even throwing him the ball enough.
Right.
You gave him the ball 5 times.
I like when they get him involved in the passing game too, and he produces when he gets thrown to. But they got to get that going more often. I definitely think he needs to be a better part of their offense or utilized more.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit of David Njoku too. Like, he had a good game, but I think he's too wildly inconsistent to rely on him. I think the Browns need a couple more weapons. I think they'll get that in this draft, and I think maybe we'll turn this thing around.
We've been marking him a bust for a while now, but he's, like you said, he's inconsistent. So as a fantasy player, that's a no-go for sure. And he's shown talent, but the inconsistency is a problem.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, and I think that draft class, when they did draft Myles Garrett, I think that's what's hurting them now, is that they drafted Jabril Peppers, Myles Garrett, and David Njoku, and I think that's their problem, is that 1 to 2/3 show up every other week. We know Garrett's showing up every week, but I'm saying, the other 2/3 of the first-round draft picks like to show up. It's like if David Njoku shows up, Jabril Peppers won. If Jabril Peppers shows up, David Njoku won. And I think, the inconsistencies are what hurting Cleveland.
Yeah. So to the other side of the ball, the other team played and they won in overtime. We mentioned Cleveland had tons of opportunities to put this away, and then the big fumble in overtime on the kick return by Jabril Peppers. What stood out for you for Tampa Bay?
The fact that Jameis Winston didn't throw a touchdown pass.
True.
That's my biggest issue, is that he had 0 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. Ryan Fitzpatrick played like trash the last couple games, but at least he threw touchdown passes.
And he did throw a lot of interceptions, but he threw touchdown passes. Jameis Winston, 360 some odd yards. What steps out of the box score for me, or the stat sheet, is Micah Evans, 107 yards, man.
It's like nobody could guard him. He caught 7 passes out of 11 targets.
We said it. I think he was getting open because I think Buccaneers had a better play calling strategy than Cleveland, because it was always on zone coverage, it seemed.
Yeah, why does it seem like the Browns should match up well with people, but then they never call the right plays? They never have the right game plan. I think Greg Williams, you got to fire him this year.
There's some struggles. Their roster is better than what they're playing, and they're in every one of these games. If they're in these games and they have opportunities, I think it comes down to play calling. We're putting so many harsh words on these guys and saying fire this guy, fire that guy, and they're coming off a season where they were 0-16, and the season before they were 1-15. And this is an improvement, but they're not winning games that they should be winning.
Yeah, they're not winning games they should be winning. There's too much talent on this team to not be winning.
This team could easily be like 500 right now.
Yeah, at least. I picked them, I think, to go 7-9, 6-10.
Yeah. So
this team has the talent to do that.
Yeah, and actually, they went into 4 overtime games. What it tells me is if you go into overtime, you had an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
So obviously, you somewhere down the line, I think a coach drops the ball.
Yeah, well, look at this game. I mean, they were a field goal away from winning it. Literally a field goal. They had the ball. They could have kicked the field goal and won it. They needed maybe 10 yards, and they just couldn't do it because of play calling.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Cleveland is as good as we thought they were going to be. We didn't expect this play calling to be as bad.
Yeah.
So, speaking about bad play calling, though, you want to talk about your hometown team?
Yeah, man, the Dallas Cowboys, they didn't play too hot. A lot of mistakes and really just looked like a football game we didn't deserve to win.
Yeah, I don't think anything's on Dak Prescott this game. I think it's kind of on Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, the dude only averaged like 2 yards per carry. He had 15 attempts for 33 yards. His longest run was only 6 yards.
Yeah. And there's a lot I can say about that. The offensive line had a lot of struggles. And like you said, Dak Prescott, not a bad game, minus a couple boneheaded plays, but you could argue fumbling in the end zone was actually the right thing to do because it gave you more clock time and it didn't, give them the ball to score more than,
Yeah, and gave him the free 2 points plus that punt like you're talking about. Also, that other fumble that he had, I mean, he didn't convert the 4th and 1.
Yeah, it was a 4th and 1, and it was basically down right there. So it's not overall a deal breaker, but
Dak did pretty much everything he could to win this game. So
and
he overcame the bad play calling and Zeke not playing up to par.
Yeah, the drive that got him 3 points away, and then some plays that got him in field goal range, man. But really, man, about that Ezekiel Elliott performance, 15 for 33. I wanna kind of shoot you a question here, and you can look at it with the eyes that that we now traded for Amari Cooper. If I gave you 4 options here, and I want you to tell me what our biggest problem is this year. And first option, wide receivers, Dak Prescott, second option. Coaching, third option. And if I said struggles with the offensive line, what's your gut, knee-jerk reaction to say?
My knee-jerk reaction after watching last game was play calling. I think that would be my first one. I'm just going to rank it for you how I feel.
Yeah.
It would probably be play calling. I would then probably say Dak Prescott. Then I would probably say your receivers and then your offensive line.
Gotcha. So with the coaching, I agree it could definitely be much more creative. But overall, if we're not executing those play calls, it's going to be a difficult game to win. And I've seen a lot of misexecution, and I'll get to where that misexecution was. But I've seen a lot of flashes of good in some games with play calling, and a lot of flashes of boring, like little dink and dunk passes.
Dak and dunk.
Yeah, for 3 yards on 3rd and 10. I mean, come on. But I agree with you slightly on the coaching, but that is not our biggest problem. And then I think you said was wide receivers next.
Dak Prescott was not.
Oh, you
wide
said
receivers was third. So
okay, so Dak Prescott. The offense was built for the run, and when you're not doing that, it's gonna hurt. And when your quarterback doesn't have the offensive pieces around him to play that passing offense, granted, to the receivers' defense, he's played with worse. I mean, his rookie season. I think he went like 7 or 8 games without Des Bryant.
Yeah, like Terrence Williams was his best receiver.
Exactly, and I think Gallup's a good, comp to Williams, if not better. So he's really not missing a whole lot from that season where he played really, really, really well. Only loss is Witten. But like I said, the offense isn't really built, and the play calling, the design of the season was built to run the ball. We're struggling to do that. You see, the games that we've won are the games we ran. You know what I mean? We were able to control the
Zeke's
game.
best games were
the ones we won.
Yeah,
exactly. So here's where I come to struggles on the offensive line. Sounds weird. Cowboys, one of the best offensive lines in the league, if not the best. Why am I complaining about their offensive line? Well, the team was built to bolster the best offensive line in the league. Zach Martin's fantastic. I think he's the GOAT. I think he's the best guard in the league this year. But that Travis Frederick loss is a huge setback.
Right before the season, too. Like, you weren't planning for it.
And it's not like a football injury. It's an illness. So it's kind of that really sucks. Backup Joe Looney, not playing bad. I love the guy. But, he's not
a backup for a reason.
Exactly. He's not an elite center like what you're used to having and what you built this team to have. You know what I mean? Second round pick, Connor Williams. I was very big on this guy.
Don't just say it. I was big on this guy.
Right. And actually, the way I had it ranked, I wanted Cowboys to go guard, wide receiver, linebacker, and they kind of jumbled that all up. And they ended up taking the guard that I wanted in the first round. They took him in the second round.
Yeah, because the Browns fumbled that one too.
Right. Exactly how they ended up with him. But he doesn't seem like he's going to just be a plug-and-play type of guy. Seems like it's going to take some time to acclimate him. So we'll see how that boils out. But basically, he's not, a super high-level, pro talent at this moment. But what I think it's finally time to get to.
Yeah, I think I feel what you're about to say.
I really think it's time to say Tyron Smith is not the same. His body is in rough shape, man. He's got a lot of wear and tear.
He's young, too. He's only like 27 or 28.
Yeah, he's in the prime of his career, but he's not playing like the prime of his career. He has a lot of those back problems, and I think his knee for a while, hamstring stuff, just that stuff.
Just nagging injuries.
Yeah,
man.
Injuries that you see in a 34-year-old left tackle, not a 28-year-old, or I believe he's 28. So he just doesn't look as quick off the snap. He's just as strong, man. If you watch some of these plays, he's bullying these guys. But if they get off of him and disengage and then attack with some speed,
he's just not got the quickness anymore.
Something, and it looks maybe like some tightness in his back. Like he doesn't really want to move those legs very fast. But basically, I've seen a lot of pressure from the blind side to Dak. Dak has actually been sacked 23 times this season. His rookie year, he played all 16 games, and he was sacked only 25 times. 23 sacks midway season.
Yeah, right at the midpoint.
And you're only halfway in.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're going with the offensive line. I mean, you go into the season expecting the best offensive line in football, if not, at least top 5, and you get maybe top 20.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're getting. I think, like you said, Zach Martin's the only one we can count on.
And what these teams are doing is they're putting 9, 10 in the box.
Because they're not scared of Dak throwing the football. But Amari Cooper might change that.
Hey, and I think Amari Cooper could be the 6th offensive lineman. In a way. I think he's gonna require a little bit of attention. I think you might have some room to disagree. I'll let you go on here in a second, but hold up. Let me speak here, because he's going to pull a little bit of attention. You're going to need to have 2 safeties back now, and you're also going to have to pull them linebackers a little bit back and watch the inside, because Amari Cooper's the type of guy who can get a short pass and run it for a long distance.
Yeah, I agree. He's got that 4.4 speed. I mean, my only problem is he has a case of the dropsies. He's worried about getting hit, and he's worried about cutting up field, like you said. I mean, because he does take it to the house. When he gets any open field, he's taking it to the house.
Yeah.
It's just he's worried about that more than catching the football.
Right.
The first-round pick for him, I think we've discussed this even before the podcast. We've discussed it since it happened. It's growing on me, because really in this draft, there's only a couple wide receivers that you could even take in the first round, and who says that they're going to be as good as Amari Cooper?
Right.
I don't put Amari Cooper in my top 15, but I put him right outside that. And he's only 24 years old. There's room to build it. And I think that when we were talking earlier, I think we frustrated each other a little bit. I don't think I got to mention that I don't think he's, top 15 now, but he's only 24. He's going to grow into that role, and he's instantly going to help Dak Prescott regardless. He's still better than every wide receiver you have on your roster.
Easily.
And I think it helps Michael Gallup, too, which also had a good game last week.
So a lot of people were saying and predicting, and even the smartest draft analysts out there, they were saying Calvin Ridley, first pick this year. All right? Calvin Ridley, 23 and a half years old. He's 24 now, right? So if I had presented you 2 options, first-round pick Calvin Ridley or first-round pick trade for the guy same age, just 4 months older, something like that. Anyways, with 2 Pro Bowls on his belt, a few injuries, but overall not the most injury-prone guy out there. Which one are you going to take? The guy with 2 Pro Bowls, or are you going to take the undersized wide receiver that and before I just
who benefits from having Julio Jones? We'll say
right.
that. So I'm probably going to take Laquan Treadwell. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm taking Amari Cooper.
Right. So your comparison. It's you haven't seen a wide receiver come out of the draft and be productive his first year.
Yeah, and that's
since
what you
Odell
need.
Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a few years to bank on getting your team turned around quick
and dictate the coverage. This is what you need. Is you need the receiver to dictate the coverage.
And we need it this year.
Yeah, you need it now. The NFC is up for grabs.
Right.
The Eagles don't know what they're doing. The Redskins are leading, but come on, it's the Redskins.
It's the Redskins.
The Giants are selling their team, which we'll get to that in a little bit. Really, the Cowboys and the Eagles are your only competition, and I think it's up for grabs. I think it could be anybody's ball
I think
game.
it's up in the air.
Not only, though, do I think that it's up in the air, I think that you need this pick, or not this pick, but the trade for this, your first-round pick to get Amari. You need that to see if Dak Prescott is your quarterback. I mean, do you want to pay $100 million and get Derek Carr, or $100 million and get
that's the point. It's
Brock
been
Osweiler?
ran across the television a lot, and it's a solid point. What you're doing is you're basically buying a prerequisite or something in order to evaluate your quarterback before you spend $100 million. But I think somebody else's job's on the line, man. Do you know who I'm about to say? I think Jason Garrett's job is on the line right now.
That's where I think I disagree, because I agree that it's on the line, but I don't think it helps whether he's fired or not, because I don't think you're going to get a coach that makes a difference because of Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
You're right, though. I do think that his job is on the line. I'm not disagreeing that. I don't think Jason Garrett makes a difference. I think it's the offensive coordinator that's making
Scott
a difference.
Linehan. I would definitely be on the side of looking for some change at offensive coordinator, regardless how the season boils down. I've liked Scott Linehan for some time, but pretty much the past 2 years has been extremely boring.
What has Scott Linehan proved to me besides, unless he has the best offensive line and everything's working well and people are afraid of you running the football, he can't call plays. Like, he doesn't know how to get the run. Like, he doesn't know how to pass to get the run game going, and he doesn't know how to run to get the pass game going. Like, you have to have that offensive line. And there's ways to work around it. Andy Reid doesn't have one of the best offensive lines, and he does it. So, and the Rams do, but there's ways to call plays for bad offensive line. Like, the Giants are losing, but Eli Manning's putting up good numbers. You know why? Quick passes, screen passes. You got to get the ball out.
You don't see a whole lot of that on the Cowboy playbook.
Some of the best throws I see from Dak are deep throws, but some of the worst throws I see from Dak are the deep throws, because they ask him to hold on to the ball when your like you said, your offensive line is underperforming and he's getting hit and sacked like we just talked about. So I think you need to see a change in the offensive coordinator.
So if you were to give the Cowboys a spread, or basically after acquiring Amari Cooper, how many plus wins or minus wins would you give them this season?
What we said, they would be 9-7, 10-6.
Somewhere
I don't think.
around there.
Well, I thought it was gonna. I think it was going down. I think you guys were going down. I think you guys stay the same now. I'm not saying that Amari Cooper doesn't make your team better, but I think as the projection,
it brings it back to our expectations, basically.
Yeah,
we expected Travis Frederick to be back. You know what I mean? And we also expected Tyron Smith
to play like
2014.
To play like Jason Peters.
Yeah, good comp from a bad team.
I had to. I had to. But, yeah, you expected all these things to happen, and it didn't happen. So I think Amari Cooper brings your expectations back to where they should be. And I think that you might win this division. I want to see how you guys play against Philadelphia, and if we make a move at the trade deadline, which kind of segues me to the Eagles and how poor they are playing.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I mean, we had this game won, dude. Against Carolina, we had it won.
Yeah, it should have been a W.
But I think our play calling was the problem, and I think that our lack of pass rush and our lack of run game has cost us many games this year.
Man, That sounds like a carbon copy, man. Cowboys had 0 sacks this game, and that's some of our strong suits, man. The Eagles do it well, Cowboys do it well.
We had 2 sacks, and I don't care what anyone says, we have the best defensive line in football on paper, at least on paper. So we had 2 sacks compared to Carolina's 3, but Carolina, it won't be on our stat sheet. Carolina pressured Carson Wentz on almost all of his dropbacks. When he made good throws, he had to make good throws.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Carson Wentz could pick who he wanted. He had to make the good throws. And I think that's what your franchise quarterback does. If you look at his stats, he completed 81% of his passes, and we didn't even have more than 58 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So this team is relying on Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is proving to us that, he's the next in line to be in the top tier quarterbacks. I know that's not kind of where we were going with this, but just looking at his stat sheet, I'm shocked at how good it was. I can't believe. I'm just happy.
I'm shocked that he was able to put up 310 yards, and if you look at his receiving core, so very few names on there, and half of them are running backs or tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Ertz, I think, is probably one of the best tight ends in the league. I think he's taking Gronk's spot because Gronk is going downhill fast.
Man, he's that new Jason Witten possession tight end.
Yeah, which I'm fine with because Jason Witten's one of the Hall of Famers. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, so it's not going to matter. But over to Carolina, I mean, they didn't run the ball that well on us. I mean, they combined for 121 yards, but you got to remember most of that's Cam Newton, and that's what he's going to do every game. Yeah, he's going to do that every game.
Yeah, Cam didn't have too bad of a game either.
What the problem is that we let all these receivers catch on us. We let Torrey Smith go for 61 yards, and one of his best catches was in the fourth quarter where we should have just tackled him.
I saw a lot of yards after catching this game, and that's rough, man. Whenever you see a cornerback chasing a guy and then a linebacker's not even being aware of the play, something's got to go. Well, something's going on there where they're missing assignments.
Yeah, Jalen Mills is a complete liability. I mean,
You've been saying it for weeks, man.
Yeah, I mean, we said in the Super Bowl, when we were watching it together, that Jalen Mills is playing out of his mind for a 7th-round pick. He just came back down to earth. Like, this is why he was a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, as his athleticism is fading from getting banged up and hit in the NFL, he's not picking up any smarts. He's getting beat on double moves. And he's getting in his own head, and that was the one thing that Jalen Mills was good at is he was confident as hell.
Trending down.
Yeah, he's trending down, I think. And the fact that our defensive coordinator is sticking up for him still. I don't know why we're so, bent on keeping this 7th-round pick on our roster.
I believe that some of that has to do with personnel and coaches trying to appease their bosses and trying to keep PR friendly.
Yeah, I understand. I completely do. But after winning a Super Bowl with this roster, your jobs are safe. So I don't. Your jobs are safe for at least 2 years. So I don't understand what's going on there. And I think the Eagles need to make a trade for a corner. Everyone's talking receivers and all this stuff.
Trades.
Yeah, we had to get to trades.
Oh yeah.
I think the Eagles need to make a trade for a corner. I think we've reached out to pretty much every team in the NFL.
Trade deadline's coming up. I don't think we'll have another podcast before it. Let's talk some trades. Who is your ideal cornerback that you think is on the trade market?
Well, I heard that Patrick Peterson stuff, and him, Jalen Ramsey, and OBJ are kind of my favorite guys. I would have bought his jersey yesterday if we would have traded for him.
Yeah.
So, but we're not going to. He wrote the letter saying he's not leaving Arizona. Even though he said he did, whatever. We'll get past that. My ideal corner for our situation would be Bradley Roby from the Denver Broncos from The Ohio State University.
Yep.
It's not because he's from Ohio State, but the dude's 6 foot, runs a 4.4, still in the prime of his career, and his contract's cheap. They have another corner, Chris Harris Jr., who I think would command more on the market. He's 29, but he's under contract till he's 31. And as we're seeing, corners aren't taking that steep decline anymore. If they're still elite, they don't take that steep decline anymore.
No, you've got cornerbacks lasting a lot longer.
Yeah, so that either one of those two, and I think that they would command a 2nd-round or a 3rd-round pick. Now, remind you, the Eagles have 2 2nd-round picks from that Baltimore trade to get the running back Lamar Miller.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a quarterback, but
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. My bad, not the actual running back Lamar Miller.
Yeah, no, it's easy to get them confused, man.
Because they play the same position.
Right. So,
what do you think? Do you think the Eagles pull the trigger this trade deadline? Man, something? What do you have?
Well, they've been rumored into a lot this year, and you can tell they need it. They need it really bad. I think it would turn. I would think it would turn their defense around, man. With some good coverage, you're going to get a lot more sacks, a lot more quarterbacks getting a little anxious in the pocket because they're not going to be able to throw to the wide open guy.
Yeah,
Jalen Mills is supposed to be guarding.
Yeah, when you got to hold the ball, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox can do what they do best. You know what I mean? And Michael Bennett, like, actually get to the quarterback. I didn't mention this guy real quick. It just hit me. For the Raiders during their fire sale.
Yeah.
Jerrion Conley's on the market. From the Ohio State University.
Yep.
And I think he would command a third or a fourth round pick, what Eli Apple commanded just 1 year prior. He got drafted in 2016.
Yeah. They drafted him in, the first round?
Of 2017. But he's underperforming and he's injury prone so far. And I think that would be popular to the Eagles because we're going to lose Ronald Darby because he's up on his rookie deal. And we can't afford to pay all these players because we're playing Fletcher Cox $20 million. We're going to have to pay Carson Wentz God knows what. I think he'll be the highest paid quarterback in the league easily. And I don't really think the Giants are going to give us Janoris Jenkins because we're an Indian.
Man, Giants are selling everything.
Sell.
They are getting rid of it all. It is man.
My thing is, why tear down the team, though? What was the point in drafting Saquon Barkley if you're going to tear down the team? Like, I just being honest, you're underperforming, but why would you draft him?
That's a very valid point because what position in the NFL has the shortest career?
Running backs.
Running back. Most wear and tear on your body, the most bruising, Why would you start there? I think I know why. Because this is the best running back prospect we've seen since Adrian Peterson. And look at Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I actually would agree, and I don't care if anyone disagrees.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley's the real deal, man.
Man, I saw something on Pro Football Focus that had him like 5th in line for Rookie of the Year. I mean, what are they smoking?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on like a limb and say we're probably at this better than Pro Football Focus.
Because honestly, this guy is accounting for about 70% of their offense. That's a fake number, but he's accounting for.
I think you meant to say 90 actual factual number.
Right. So, come on, man.
Like, come on, man.
But
yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. But again, why would you start with a running back? Yes, he's great. I'm agreeing with all the greatness, all the comps, everything. I think what happened is you thought Eli Manning wasn't going to have this decline. I mean, he's got good numbers, but he's actually, like, if you watch the game, he's not playing well. Mm-hmm. I think you thought that Nate Solder was going to be better than he is.
Ooh.
And Nate Solder he looks like Tyron Smith is playing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Nate Solder was never as good as Tyron Smith was, so you can tell that, he's playing worse. Like, he just is. It's clear. And I think that you thought this defense was going to be legit, and then you traded Snacks Harrison to Detroit, which I like because Detroit's problem is they need more help.
Yeah, and Snacks Harrison, isn't he on his last year?
Yeah, he's on his last year of his deal. You're getting something out of him. So
yeah, if you don't have intentions to trade this guy and you're not in the running for your division, you might as well unload.
One off year might help the Giants. They're either going to get a quarterback or more offensive line.
Okay,
help.
I wouldn't say one off year. Last year was a pretty bad off year.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying like I'm saying like another off year would help them.
Well, yeah, a actually intentional off year.
Yeah, an intentional off year. They expected Super Bowl last year. I mean, but it's New York. You expect Super Bowl for every team, and you expect World Series for every team.
They play in New Jersey, Skyler.
I always forget that, man.
Yeah.
East Rutherford.
Who really cares?
So I got a couple of more like little trade targets that are on the market, maybe for Philadelphia or just other teams out there. Devontae Parker for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to sell. I've
seen a lot of rumors of him leaving. They've got a good record. I mean, so far they're doing all right.
But they're not going to win their division. And I think the key is I think NFL teams are starting to realize if you're not going to win your division, there's no point in competing. It's kind of turning into the NBA. Like, it's clear the Rams are better than everyone. It's clear the Chiefs are better than everyone. And it's clear New England's going to do New England things. So if you're in any of those divisions, I think you're going to sell. I think the Chargers are going to sell. And I think the Dolphins are going to get rid of Devontae Parker for a 3rd or a 4th round pick. I think he's a little too injury prone. And I hope Philly even pulls the trigger for a 3rd round.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, out of all the teams, though, that are doing the most selling,
we got the Raiders.
The Raiders. That was a poor impression, but it's all right. John Gruden don't care.
Right. Well, yeah, he don't care about anybody in that locker room. They're all, man, these guys are on the hot seat. they're wondering if they're going to be traded any
I wish
day.
the Eagles would offer him just like a case of Busch Light or something, or Busch Latte, just to see what we could get, man.
Right, man. They're giving everything away. Except for I think it was as a Cowboys fan at first, let me get that out there. It was pretty big knee-jerk reaction when they gave away a first pick. But after kind of, meditating on it, I like it. But the Raiders, they won this deal, if it makes any sense.
Yeah,
they got a first-round pick.
They got a first-round pick.
Right.
Which
the Cowboys needed what they got, but the Raiders...
They need talent.
Right.
Amari Cooper's... I kind of see what the Raiders are doing. They're getting rid of the players where they're going to rebuild, so you have to get rid of Khalil Mack. Why pay him just to be mediocre? I'm starting to come to terms with the Khalil Mack deal. Yes, Khalil Mack is probably the best pass rusher we've seen. I think he's better than J.J. Watt, and he's better than Von Miller.
He could be one of the best ever.
But he's 27 years old, and he commands like $20 million a year, $25 million, I think.
Like you said, if you're not winning your division, why sit at mediocre?
Why pay all that money to be mediocre? So or trade Amari Cooper. He's only 24, but let's say this is a 3-year build, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to get 3 prime years out of your top receiver.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I think you got to trade
better to get better draft picks and lose more games.
Speaking of being mediocre, aka Derek Carr, I think the Raiders trade Derek Carr. That's my big prediction for the week. Is I think Derek Carr gets traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars after this London game. Let's pray against Philadelphia.
Yeah, I could very well see that happening.
First round, second round pick. It'll take a first round, but I'm saying it's going to take more than a first round.
He's having a rough year though, and it can't be easy when your house is getting flipped every other day.
Yeah, but he cried.
Every day somebody new's disappearing.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough locker room to deal with. So,
and John Gruden came in there so on Derek Carr.
That's why he chose the Raiders. That's why he came out.
And now all of a sudden, it seems like everybody, Derek Carr included.
I think John Gruden, if he trades Derek Carr, has a method to his madness. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think if he trades Derek Carr, they're going to turn this team around in Las Vegas, where the Raiders are going. Mm-hmm. And I think they're a perennial playoff / Super Bowl team in the next 5 years, if they make the right picks.
So it's typically easy to draft first-round pick, best guy available.
Yeah, duh.
But I was not fond of John Gruden's draft last year. I was not a big fan of Colton Miller. I'm not a big fan of who all did they obtain this year?
Colton Miller, Arden Key,
yes.
Maurice Hurst, and somebody else I can't think. But those are the highlights of the class.
Yeah, and not a big fan of it. How do you think he turns it around this year?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that I am a big fan of it. I was down on it because he passed on better players. Mm-hmm. But if you look at these players, Colton Miller is a left tackle prospect, which there wasn't one. Right? Yeah. There wasn't one.
There wasn't one in the draft besides him, but he looked sloppy.
He is the most athletic left tackle prospect in this, in the draft, which you need to be an efficient left tackle. You have to be athletic. So, and he's only 21 years old. He's 22 now at the start of the, this point.
It's good.
So he fits we're going to compete, right?
Yeah.
So their defensive side of the ball, remember how I told you they got Arden Key and Maurice Hurst. Maurice Hurst is probably the steal of the draft. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he's tearing it up.
Huge asterisk beside his name that he might not even be able to play without dying.
But he can, so
now he's good. Yeah, it's a big steal at the round they picked him.
Yeah, fourth round.
That's a great deal.
I was mad because the Eagles didn't need him, and I wanted them to take him.
He was first, second round prospect for sure.
Talent-wise, for sure. At Michigan, too, because Jim Harbaugh, as much as I don't want to say it, he grooms them boys that played in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So beside that, Arden Key is literally what Khalil Mack was coming out of college. So
yeah, it's a reach to compare him to.
I'm not comparing him to
but yeah, he's got the mold.
Raw and fast. That's what Khalil Mack is. That's all I'm comparing is like Khalil Mack was groomed into being the pass rusher he is today.
I like it.
So what I have to say is if the Raiders get the second pick, which I assume they will, they're not going to fall out of the second. They will either want Ed Oliver or Nick Bosa, and I think at 2 they're going to get Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
I think he's clear and far, but
Well, yeah, and he's also from a bigger school, and
what
it's
school
in the
is
blood.
that? You mean the Ohio State University?
Yeah, the Ohio State
So,
University.
I think the injury doesn't mean nothing. I'm glad that, personally, I want to get this out there. I'm glad that Nick chose what's best for himself. I don't think these college players owe the university anything.
Yeah, it's one of those opinions. Everybody's got one, and I'm on your side with that. You know, you're not making money while you're in college. They're making money off of you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too political. I just want to say I don't think it's a character issue. That's why he's still going to go high. I don't want, character out of it. I think the dude bled for this Ohio State football team. I think he's going to bleed for any team he's on. So after that, I think I did a little guessing of where these picks were. That Dallas pick, I have them at 16. I think Dallas could win the division, but let's say they don't.
Yeah, at 16, that's middle of the league. That's 8-8. As much as I don't want them to go 8-8 again, that's definitely something that could happen.
Yeah, at 16, I have them taking Greg Little out of Ole Miss.
Good pick.
He's kind of like a Nate Solder before the Giants. Like when he played at New England, just a physical guy. He's going to start every game for you. But I think Greg Little's going to play on the right side because I think Colton Miller's going to develop in that left tackle.
Yeah,
because you got
a nice mold.
Yeah,
for your first year,
Yeah, for your first year, and
this is your second first-round pick.
Yeah, he was a former 5-star recruit, so I think he's going to come out as well. This is a big asterisk beside Greg Little because Greg Little doesn't have to come out. He can, and since there's only about 2 tackles that are worth taking in this draft, I think he'll come out so he can get drafted in the first round.
This will be the ideal year for him.
Yeah, he doesn't gain anything by staying in, and he doesn't lose anything by coming out. So
man, I gotta say, I cannot wait to break this draft down.
I'm excited. Further. This is, like I said, this is my favorite time of the year. This is my, the draft and all that. Anyway, I have at 22, that is the Bears pick. I have them taking Hollywood Brown out of Oklahoma.
I like it. Marquise Brown, 5'11", not the tallest guy, but he's quick.
He's fast.
He's fast. He's got those little steps, and then he breaks stride and he goes deep.
He tracks the deep ball really well.
Oh yeah, and man, I like him. I give him a comp similar to like a T.Y. Hilton, like a big playmaker, not giant in size. He's not going to jump over people, but you know what? He's quick enough. And I say quick, not just top speed type of quick.
Yeah, like quick.
He's agile. He's going to get his routes down, and man, once he gets that ball, he's going to make the first guy miss.
Yeah, I think that's his ceiling. I think his floor, I know this is a little early to do it, I think his floor is like Travis Benjamin. So I think they're going to get a playmaker at 22.
A playmaker.
Yeah, regardless.
Yeah.
Now, my last pick for them in the first round, because I told you they were trading Derek Carr. So they're going to draft a quarterback. I think this is the draft to not have to move up to get your guy. And I think there's about 3 guys in this draft. I mean, Justin Herbert and a couple other guys.
But it is the NFL draft. And, when it gets about March, about March.
Yeah, about March.
It's usually where quarterbacks skyrocket in value. And you start to see average guys
go higher than expected.
Average guy. Give me an average guy who went high this year.
Josh Rosen, who's trash.
And Josh Allen. Really, it happens every year, man.
Yeah, it happens. Players go. But I think those teams kind of found their guy for at least this season. That's why I think this is the perfect storm for the quarterback is, you make a valid point. But I can only think of 3 teams that need a quarterback. And like I said, the Raiders are going to trade one of them to a team that needs one. So it's going to be Raiders and Dolphins.
That's a good point. There isn't a high need for a quarterback this year, and Dolphins currently their record's doing all right. So maybe if they don't trade out, they don't sell out, they're going to draft quarterback mid-round.
And if they draft a quarterback early, that just means the Raiders are the only team that needs one.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think they will draft that guy from North Carolina State North Carolina State. What's his name? He's like 6'3".
Oh, you're talking. It was Ryan Finley.
Yeah, Ryan Finley. I watched his tape. I watched his game. I think it was like a couple Saturdays ago. He looks good, man. He looks real good.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me. He's got that big arm.
Yeah.
But he's got a little touch to it, too.
Yeah, he drops the deep pass nice.
Yeah, he's got to be scripted, though. He looks like he needs organization, and that's not what the Raiders are. But he looks like he needs a stable organization, and that's kind of where he's going to thrive. But who knows? If you give him them playmakers, like I said, like Brown, Hollywood Brown, and give him that offensive line, who I think he's going to have 2 bookend tackles.
Yeah,
I think that he might be like a Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff kind of guy. That's how I feel.
Yeah, like a Kirk Cousins high, Jared Goff. Well, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, I saw a lot of design plays, fake handoffs, fake your head to one guy and then look downfield. And then just lob that pass without even assuming. But
his touch was so good that he led the receiver right there. A lot of this is college stuff. Obviously, he plays for NC State. We're not expecting them to be good, but
and I think we've said a few times this is way too early, but I think Hollywood Brown would be a good option because he doesn't throw to the jump ball. He throws to that running streak guy.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can move Hollywood Brown all over the field, and that's what we're
Get
seeing
creative.
In this NFL is, except for Dallas, but uncreative. Yeah, but we see their playmakers moving all over the field. I just want to give like a couple of quick examples. Tyreek Hill, obvious. Stephon Diggs, pretty obvious. Tariq Cohen for the Bears.
Yeah,
and then the Eagles. We're putting Alshon Jeffrey in the slot for no dang reason. Like, it's just you got to move your guy around. You just got to confuse it. Yep, match up and get the matchup. So I think Hollywood Brown would be a matchup nightmare, and I think Ryan Finley wouldn't even have to be groomed as long as you gave him a system where he could thrive, and I think he needs to be a little babied.
Yeah, that's a good idea, especially for a quarterback you're drafting at number 27.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think he'd be a steal there. I think the Raiders, if they make this, I think they turn the ship around, man. And I'm going to buy all my stock back that I sold and say I think John Gruden knows what he's doing if he trades Derek Carr.
I think it's a fun team to play. What would you do with? You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously it's like the most fun.
Exactly. So I enjoy imagining and really just playing
GM.
Playing GM with them. I'm still sold. I done sold that stock. I'm not coming back. Everything I've seen from John Gruden, man, dislike button.
Do you really think he's gonna destroy this team that bad? Like, we've never seen this really happen. Do you think, like, honestly,
how many years has he been outside of coaching and any team
10.
affiliation?
More than 10.
He's claimed to be some sort of quarterback guru, but he buys the team that has Derek Carr. I mean, you can look at his resume. It's not very good. His success, he's had one successful season.
Yeah, with Rich Gannon.
But it's...
Who had an MVP season, but Rich Gannon was already trending that way.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Derek Carr.
Okay.
So I'm saying John Gruden took the team based on the quarterback that was there. And you look at that quarterback, and anybody can see that he's mediocre at best. Besides, for 1 year, he had a solid game. Their solid season. They won like 11 games. So I'm kind of not sold on John Gruden's judgment.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I can't really disagree or agree. I'm just going to say I'm going to buy because I'm going to keep talking about him for a long time. They're, like you said, this is my favorite part of kind of what we do here.
Oh yeah,
and this is like literally my dream. Like, if I could own a team, this would be exactly what I want.
4 first-round picks. We're not even out of the first round.
Yeah, and they still got second-round picks to come. And next year, they're going to have multiple first-round picks.
See, that's what's going to be interesting for me without a first-round pick is digging through and digging deep for guys in the second, third, and fourth round that I like.
I think that's going to help, though, your draft, because with me, it's like I got to worry about who the Eagles are going to take. Now I got to scout just who the Eagles are looking at. 2, you're going to be able to just look at everyone, and I think that's going to help your rankings this year.
And maybe if you pick up this pet, the Raiders, have that be your little pet project, maybe you'll look into the high talent prospects that they'll probably accumulate all 32 first-round picks.
Yeah, I heard that they might go for the University of Alabama. It's not confirmed yet, but I did hear that.
Not confirmed. The entirety of the first round is the University of Alabama.
That's what I would take.
That saves all the Ohio State players.
Yeah, send them to our teams, all the Ohio State players. So I think that'll be my rankings for today. I think we had a good run here at playing GM.
I enjoyed it. I think that counts as our bold predictions for sure.
I think for sure.
I think
I reached real deep for that
I think
one.
we've got enough bold predictions on record to last the rest of this NFL season. So that'll do it for our show today. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check us out in our upcoming episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play.